Laws are supposed to keep society from collapsing into chaos. Yet sometimes, it feels like lawmakers were just bored banning everything from squeaky sandals to pigs saddled with royal names. In fact, scattered across legal codes worldwide are rules so bizarre, you'd think someone wrote them on a dare. Today, we're hopping country to country to spotlight 50 of the most ridiculous laws humanity ever managed to pass. Buckle up hereabout to wonder if common sense ever had a seat in Parliament. 1. Thailand. The underwear law. Thailand has one of the strangest rules in modern history. You cannot leave your house without wearing underwear. Nobody is sure where this came from, but it feels like an overprotective tradition that somehow slipped into law. The funniest part is the enforcement problem. How could police ever check this without embarrassing everyone? Of course, it's not actively enforced, but technically, it's still on the books. The law represents less of a crime issue and more of a quirky attempt at public decency. In practice, it's just a hilarious reminder of how far lawmakers can go. 2. Oklahoma, USA. Ugly faces at dogs in Oklahoma. Protecting dogs went beyond food and safety. The law literally banned people from making ugly faces at dogs. Yes, it's written down like a serious crime. Imagine someone in court trying to explain, "Your Honor, I swear the pug misunderstood my expression." The origins of this law are unclear, but most believe it was aimed at preventing teasing or provoking pets. Still, the image of police writing a ticket for grimacing at a bulldog is pure comedy. It's a perfect example of how well-meaning rules can become the stuff of legend. Smile or pay the fine. 3. Iowa, USA. One-armed pianists. Iowa once created a law so oddly specific it seems like satire. According to the code, a one-armed pianist is not allowed to perform for money. The law doesn't forbid them from playing music, it just denies them payment. The reason behind it remains a mystery. Was it meant to protect other musicians? Was it born from one unusual case in history? Whatever the cause, the law ended up sounding discriminatory and absurd. Imagine a talented pianist who lost an arm, pouring his heart into music, only to be told, "Sorry, your passion is legally free entertainment." Ridiculous. For Connecticut, USA, the pickle bounce test, back in 1948, Connecticut faced a strange food scandal: fake pickles. 2 men were caught selling cucumbers that weren't properly fermented, and the authorities needed a test. Their solution? Drop the pickle from 1 foot high. If it bounced, it was a true pickle. If it didn't, it was fraud. This bizarre test was written into law, giving rise to one of the funniest legal standards in food history. Somewhere, inspectors actually stood in labs, dropping pickles on the floor. Today, it survives in trivia books, reminding us that sometimes the law is both practical and comical. 5. Eswatini, the broomstick altitude law. Eswatini's aviation codes include one rule you'd never expect. Broomsticks cannot fly higher than 150 meters. While most countries regulate drones or airplanes, Eswatini casually extended the logic to witches. The law doesn't say witches don't exist. It simply demands they follow the same safety rules as other flying objects. Picture an air traffic controller, warning, broomstick 302, descend immediately. It's a hilarious mix of superstition and bureaucracy. The brilliance here is its practicality. You can imagine it flying. It must obey air traffic law. Only in Eswatini could magic meet aviation policy so directly. 6. France UFOs banned over vineyards in 1954. During Europe's UFO craze, the mayor of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, France, passed a decree banning flying saucers and flying cigars from landing in the vineyards. It was mostly a publicity stunt, but technically, it's still on the books. The idea of aliens checking zoning laws before touching down for a wine tasting is hilarious. Imagine a Martian arriving, only to have the spaceship impounded by local police. While it brought the town worldwide fame, the law stands as one of the quirkiest examples of mixing marketing with legislation. Wine is serious business even for extraterrestrials. 7. Portugal. Peeing in the ocean. Portugal once declared that urinating in the ocean was against the law. On paper, it sounds like an attempt to protect the environment. In practice, it's completely unenforceable. How would anyone prove it? Unless lifeguards had special sensors or psychic powers, catching violators would be impossible. Still, the law reflects a noble, if slightly delusional, goal of keeping beaches pristine. The funniest part is imagining a police officer walking up to a dripping swimmer saying, "We know what you did. It's bureaucracy against nature itself, and nature, of course, always wins." 8. Milan. Italy, the smiling law in Milan. An old rule requires citizens to smile in public at all times except at funerals or hospital visits. Dating back to Austro-Hungarian rule, the law was never repealed. Though rarely enforced, it technically makes frowning illegal. Imagine being scolded by officers for looking annoyed while waiting for a tram. While the idea was to spread positivity, it instead turned sadness into a crime. The law has become a quirky reminder of how governments sometimes try to legislate emotions. In Milan, joy was not just encouraged, it was once mandatory. 9. France. Don't name your pig Napoleon. France passed a law banning farmers from naming pigs Napoleon. The reasoning: respect for the dignity of the country's most iconic emperor. While probably intended to prevent mockery, it reads like satire today. Picture a farmer proudly showing off a pig named Napoleon, only to be fined for treason. Though rarely taken seriously now, the law still exists in some form. It shows how even barnyard humor once posed a threat to national pride. Protecting history is one thing. Protecting it from pigs might be the strangest mission ever assigned to lawmakers. 10. United Kingdom drunk in a pub, Britain's licensing. Act of 1872 made it illegal to be drunk inside a pub. Yes, the very place designed for drinking forbids the outcome of drinking. The law also makes it illegal for pub owners to let patrons get drunk on their premises. It's a paradox that has entertained trivia lovers for decades. Imagine being asked to leave a pub for successfully doing what pubs are built for. Rarely enforced, it remains a funny contradiction in the law. In Britain, you can raise a glass but not too high, or you risk breaking the rules. 11. Turin. Italy, dog walking mandate. Turin takes pet care seriously. So seriously that the city requires dog owners to walk their pets at least 3 times a day. Fail to do so, and you could face a fine of up to €500. The idea was to prevent animal neglect, but it also creates hilarious scenarios. Imagine police stopping you mid-street to ask, "Excuse me, has this poodle had its 3rd walk today?" Suddenly, every dog owner becomes a suspect in the crime of The law turned daily playtime into a legal duty, making dogs some of the most protected citizens in Italy. 12. Nevada, USA camel highways. Nevada once banned camels from highways, a leftover from the U.S. Army's short-lived Camel Corps experiment in the 19th century. Camels were imported to haul supplies across the desert, but were eventually abandoned, roaming free and sometimes wandering onto roads. To prevent accidents, lawmakers passed the unusual law. Today, camels are long gone, but the ban remains. Imagine tourists asking, "So we can gamble in Vegas, but not ride camels on Route 66. It's a perfect example of how laws outlive the problems they were designed to solve, leaving behind bizarre historical relics. 13. London, UK carpet-beating curfew in 1839. London outlawed beating carpets or rugs in the street after 8 a.m. Before this, mornings in the industrial city were filled with dust, as thousands of households shook filth into the air. The Metropolitan Police Act tried to bring order by limiting rug beating to before breakfast. Oddly, doormats were exempt before the cutoff. Imagine a stern inspector shouting, "Put that rug down, it's 8:01. The law reflects Victorian attempts to control even household chores. Today, it's more trivia than law, but it captures a time when clean air had an official timetable. 14. Scotland, drunk with a cow. Scotland's Licensing Act of 1872 banned being drunk while in charge of a cow, horse, carriage, or steam engine. Out of all those, the cow makes the funniest picture. Imagine a tipsy farmer trying to guide his confused cow through a crowded market, chaos guaranteed. The law reflects a real safety concern of the era, but today it sounds like a comedy sketch. It proves how seriously Victorians took livestock management and how public drunkenness was regulated down to the smallest detail. Only in Scotland could a cow double as an official sobriety test. 15. Eswatini broomstick altitude limits. Eswatini's aviation code sets a maximum flying height of 150 meters for broomsticks. The rule treats broomsticks like drones or small planes. While it might sound absurd, it was written as a practical part of aviation safety standards. Instead of denying folklore, lawmakers simply applied modern rules to it. Picture an air traffic controller reporting unidentified broomstick at 200 meters. Descending now, it's one of the most surreal laws in existence. Supernatural ideas while forcing them into bureaucracy. Whether real or not, witches in Eswatini are bound by the same rules as pilots. 16 Georgia, USA. Chickens crossing roads in Quitman, Georgia. Chickens are legally forbidden from crossing the road. Of course, the law doesn't target the chickens themselves, but fines owners for letting them roam. It was written to prevent accidents and protect drivers. But it also killed the world's oldest joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? In Quitman, the answer is simple: it didn't, because its owner didn't want to pay a fine. The law is both practical and hilarious, showing how a serious traffic concern can turn into a global punchline about poultry. 17 Vermont, USA. False teeth permission. In 19th century Vermont, women needed their husband's permission to wear false teeth. It reflects a time when men legally controlled many aspects of household life and dental care. Imagine a woman in pain, begging her husband to sign paperwork before she could get dentures. Today, it's seen as outdated and absurd, but technically, the law was never formally repealed. It's a snapshot of a past where independence was restricted by bizarre legal requirements. Thankfully, times have changed, but this odd statute remains in history as a symbol of unnecessary control. 18 Boulder, Colorado. Ban on boulders. The city of Boulder once banned residents from keeping large rocks on their property unless they were part of landscaping. The irony is obvious. A city named Boulder outlawed boulders. Lawmakers likely wanted to prevent hazards or eyesores, but the symbolism makes it legendary. Imagine city council members seriously debating the danger of decorative rocks. It's bureaucracy at its finest, where a city became legally at odds with its own name. Boulder remains one of the rare places where the law literally contradicts its identity. 19 Japan waistline limits. Japan's Metabo law, passed in 2008, set official maximum waistlines for citizens between ages 40 and 74. Men can't exceed 33.5 inches. Women can't exceed 35.4. If they do, they're given health counseling, and companies may be fined. The law was designed to fight obesity, but it quickly became one of the world's most unusual public health measures. Imagine being measured at work while your boss worries about company penalties. It's a blend of proactive health policy and intrusive regulation proof that sometimes the government gets a little too close to your beltline. 20. Sweden dancing permit. In Sweden, spontaneous public dancing was technically illegal without a government permit. The law, introduced in the 1930s, required bars and venues to apply for licenses to allow dancing. While often ignored, it meant even a joyful street dance party could be shut down. Imagine a police officer stopping a group mid-move. Sorry, no permit, no dancing. It was meant to maintain order, but ended up making joy itself a regulated activity. For a country famous for ABBA, it's ironic that dancing once required official approval. The rule shows how even fun can be controlled by red tape. Now it's your turn. What's the dumbest, weirdest, or most ridiculous law you've ever heard from your country, your state, even your school or workplace? Drop it in the comments. The best ones get pinned, because absurdity is universal. Before we reveal our grand finale, it's time for the final verdict. For us, the award for the most mind-bending law goes to Eswatini's regulation on which broomstick altitude. Why? Because it doesn't deny witchcraft. It simply subjects witches to the same rules as small aircraft. It's surreal, it's pragmatic, and it's our winner. Do you agree? Or do you think another law deserves the crown? Let us know below. And now, for our final law,